harmless adventure before bedtime. But for an entire generation, animation became something else entirely. It introduced death without warning. It showed parents disappearing in fire and gunshots. It trapped children in forests that felt endless and hostile. These films didn't cushion the blow or soften the darkness. They trusted young audiences to handle grief, fear, abandonment, and loss in ways that live-action family movies rarely dared. And because they were animated, the trauma slipped past our defenses. We weren't prepared. We thought we were watching something comforting. Instead, we witnessed scenes that lingered for decades, moments that replay in memory long after the credits roll. These weren't horror movies. They were childhood milestones wrapped in innocence and delivered without mercy. Here are 10 animated films that didn't just entertain kids.
Bambi, 1942. Though released decades earlier, Bambi traumatized multiple generations through one devastating moment. The death of Bambi's mother remains one of the most shocking scenes ever placed in a family film. The gunshot echoes through snowy woods, leaving silence where comfort should be. Disney never shows the body, yet the absence feels louder than graphic imagery. Children confronted loss without preparation, often experiencing their first cinematic grief in that forest. The restraint intensifies the pain, forcing audiences to sit with confusion and sadness alongside the young deer. Beyond that scene, the film portrays wildfire and survival with startling realism. Its gentle watercolor animation contrasts sharply with the harshness of nature. Parents frequently underestimate its emotional weight, assuming it is a soft woodland fable. Instead, it delivers a formative lesson in mortality and resilience. That singular trauma continues echoing through childhood memories. Pinocchio, 1940. Pinocchio may be remembered for whimsy, yet its darker sequences unsettled countless viewers. Pleasure Island transforms mischievous boys into donkeys through a horrifying metamorphosis scene. The slow realization as a child sprouts ears and brays in panic remains deeply disturbing. Disney's early animation embraced shadows and menace, creating an atmosphere closer to gothic fantasy than light comedy. Stromboli's rage and the looming whale Monstro add layers of peril rarely matched in modern family films. Unlike contemporary animated features, the film allows genuine terror to unfold without immediate relief. The moral consequences feel severe and irreversible. Children expecting fairy tale magic instead encountered existential fear about losing identity and freedom. Its stark warnings about temptation resonate precisely because they feel so frightening. Generations later, the image of a boy crying as he transforms into livestock remains haunting. The Brave Little Toaster, 1987. On the surface, the brave little toaster appears charming. Household appliances embark on a journey to reunite with their owner. Beneath that premise lies an unexpectedly heavy meditation on abandonment and obsolescence. The nightmare sequence in the repair shop, complete with a sinister clown and crushing machinery, unsettled countless young viewers. Even more haunting is the junkyard scene, where discarded cars sing about their impending destruction. The existential despair embedded in cheerful melodies left an emotional imprint few anticipated. Unlike most family animations of the era, the film confronts the fear of being replaced and forgotten. Its tone shifts abruptly from warmth to psychological dread without warning. Children expecting harmless adventure were confronted with mortality disguised as scrap metal. The contrast between cute design and crushing themes created lasting unease. What seemed like a quirky children's story became an unexpected lesson in impermanence. The Land Before Time, 1988. The Land Before Time opens with warmth and prehistoric wonder before delivering a crushing blow. Littlefoot's mother dies protecting him from a predator, leaving him alone in a hostile world. The scene unfolds slowly, emphasizing confusion and heartbreak rather than spectacle. Young viewers were forced to process abandonment in the film's earliest minutes. Don Bluth's direction refuses to soften the moment with humor. Instead, the journey that follows becomes one of grief and survival. The barren landscapes amplify isolation, while the music underscores lingering sadness. Although marketed as a children's adventure, its emotional intensity rivals adult drama. Many adults still recall tears and lingering discomfort from childhood screenings. The film acknowledges that loss is part of growing up, but it offers that lesson without gentle cushioning. Its blend of innocence and tragedy defined a generation's emotional memory.
Fantasia, 1940. Fantasia blends classical music with surreal imagery, but certain segments unsettled young viewers profoundly. Night on Bald Mountain introduces a towering demon summoning spirits from graves, rendered in stark shadows and fiery hues. The sequence feels apocalyptic, far removed from gentle cartoon tradition. Even other segments carry intense imagery, from battling dinosaurs to abstract chaos. Disney trusted audiences to interpret orchestral storytelling without dialogue, which left children to process fear without guidance. The animation's ambition created beauty alongside dread. Many remember feeling confused and frightened rather than entertained. Its willingness to embrace darkness within artistry challenged assumptions about what animation should provide. While celebrated for innovation, it also left an emotional imprint rooted in unease. Fantasia proves that visual experimentation can disturb as much as it inspires. Its haunting imagery continues to echo across generations.
Watership Down, 1978. Marketed with soft illustrated rabbits and pastoral landscapes, Watership Down blindsided audiences with violence and existential dread. Adapted from Richard Adams' novel, the film depicts fleeing rabbits facing suffocation, bloodshed, and authoritarian brutality. The animation style is deceptively gentle, which makes the sudden bursts of violence even more jarring. Children expecting a light animal adventure instead encountered scenes of terror that felt almost apocalyptic. Themes of survival, prophecy, and death unfold without comedic relief. The haunting score amplifies an atmosphere of constant threat. British censors initially gave it a family-friendly rating, unaware of how intense the imagery would feel to younger viewers. Decades later, adults still recall specific sequences with discomfort. Its unflinching portrayal of mortality challenged the idea that animation must protect its audience. The film remains powerful precisely because it refuses to dilute danger.
The Secret of NIMH, 1982. Directed by Don Bluth, The Secret of NIMH introduced young audiences to a world of shadowy laboratories and genetic experimentation. The film's darker color palette and gothic atmosphere set it apart from brighter studio fare. Mrs. Brisby's desperate quest to save her son unfolds amid betrayal, violence, and looming death. The owl sequence alone terrified children with its cavernous silence and predatory presence. Bluth refused to sanitize the peril, allowing tension to build slowly rather than relying on slapstick relief. The animation is lush but oppressive, amplifying the sense of vulnerability. Themes of scientific manipulation and sacrifice feel startlingly mature. Parents often assumed it was safe simply because it was animated. Instead, many children left with lingering images of glowing amulets and collapsing environments. Its intensity shaped a generation's understanding that cartoons could carry genuine stakes.
Coraline, released later, Coraline revived the tradition of unsettling children through animation. The stop-motion design gives the film a tactile eeriness, making every smile slightly unnatural. The other mother's button eyes became an immediate symbol of childhood fear. What begins as whimsical exploration turns into a claustrophobic nightmare about manipulation and control. The film refuses to talk down to its audience, allowing genuine menace to dominate extended sequences. Shadows stretch unnaturally, colors shift from vibrant to sickly, and safety becomes illusion. Children expecting playful fantasy instead encountered psychological horror disguised as fairy tale. The deliberate pacing heightens tension rather than diffusing it. Unlike sanitized family films, Coraline trusts viewers to confront darkness head-on. Its imagery lingers precisely because it feels so tangible. The blend of beauty and dread ensured lasting impact.
An American Tail, 1986. An American Tail is often remembered for its hopeful anthem, yet much of the film is steeped in fear and displacement. Fievel becomes separated from his family during a violent storm at sea, triggering prolonged anxiety about abandonment.
The imagery of dark alleyways and predatory cats heightens vulnerability. Unlike typical animated adventures, the story lingers on loneliness and uncertainty. The immigrant narrative carries emotional weight that many children absorbed without fully understanding. Scenes of Fievel wandering through unfamiliar streets capture the terror of being lost in an indifferent world. The tone balances optimism with sustained tension, making relief hard-earned rather than guaranteed. Many viewers recall the sense of isolation more vividly than the cheerful songs. By confronting themes of separation and survival, the film left a subtle but lasting emotional scar. Its mixture of warmth and dread.
Animation has always been more powerful than it appears. These films proved that illustrated characters can carry grief, fear, and existential dread as effectively as live actors. For many children, these stories marked the first confrontation with death, abandonment, or moral darkness. They linger not because they were cruel, but because they were honest. They refused to shield audiences completely from reality's harsher edges. That emotional intensity forged deep memories, sometimes uncomfortable, always unforgettable. While modern family films often prioritize comfort, these classics trusted young viewers with complexity. The trauma they caused became part of growing up, shaping resilience alongside fear. Years later, revisiting them reveals layers of artistry beneath the shock. They endure because they respected their audience enough to challenge them. And in doing so, they proved that animation is not a safe genre. It is simply another powerful form of storytelling.